Hello everyone, this is Robert Landau. Welcome to the first in a series called Health and Wellness Tips. In this series, we're going to focus on how to make life for you even better through some very simple, easy to administer tips on wellness and health that will really make a difference for you. So, this is the first in that series, and with that in mind, it is my pleasure to welcome Gwen Wilburn, who happens to be the Senior Vice President of Clinical Operations for Retirement Center Management. Welcome, Gwen.
Thank you.
Great to see you, and thanks for doing this
Absolutely,
with and
my
for
pleasure.
us. Before we get into the nitty-gritty, give us just a little bit of your background. Just a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'm from Montgomery, Texas. I have been a registered nurse for 27 years now. Time flies.
Yes.
I've been in the senior living industry for, I say 16, but it may be 17. Anyway, about that. Been working for RCM for about a year and a half now, and labor and delivery nurse before that. So I've been in different areas of nursing. And I love what I do.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
It's important to love what you do.
Yeah.
I would like to focus for this first episode on the coronavirus and a lot of things having to do with that. Obviously, life is a little different at RCM communities because of the virus. So I'm sure everybody watching kind of knows some of the basic things that have been put into place. Could you explain to us the real reason why it's so important to adhere to many, if not all, of these guidelines? And if you want, you can even review, let's say, the top 3 or 4 things that you need to keep in mind as an RCM resident to keep maintaining your health and wellness. Let's start there first.
Sure. So to maintain your health, I mean, with the things that we put in place right now, some of these things are going to be going on from now on. Infection control. I can't say enough about infection control. And I know everyone's heard it. You're going to continue to hear it. Good hand washing. Everyone always wants to have sanitizer, but honestly, good hand washing is even better than sanitizer. And whenever I say good hand washing, I'm talking about soap, water, friction, 20 seconds. So that's very important to make sure that we have those things, not just a dip in the water. So
20 seconds of hand washing. How much, because I've seen varying opinions on this, how much soap would you need to wash your hands for 20 seconds with?
Enough to get a good lather.
Good lather, okay. And warm water?
Warm
cold?
water.
Okay.
Warm water.
Warm water. Excellent.
Yes.
And that, washing one's hands in the way that you've suggested, is even more powerful than hand sanitizer?
It's better than sanitizer. Sanitizer we use as a secondary. So if I'm out and about, which I know right now we're not out and about, but if I happen to be out and about and I can't get to soap and water, then the hand sanitizer is a great secondary tool.
Yes.
So other things that we're using is good respiratory etiquette. So whenever I say respiratory etiquette, that's just talking about covering your sneezes, covering your coughs, making sure that those droplets aren't going out into the open. And so, of course, after you do that, you want to make sure you're washing your hands again.
Yeah, so you don't touch anything.
Exactly,
right.
Exactly.
I've seen where some people are recommending, it's probably not very hygienic, that you sneeze or cough into your arm as opposed to kind of what we're usually used to doing.
Either a tissue or the crook of your arm, so that way it's not going out into the open.
So if you have a sudden sneeze and you can't get to your hanky in time or a tissue,
Exactly.
what would you do?
Right up here.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Other things?
Other things are not touching. You hear about not touching your face. So if you think about it, everyone else has been touching tables or light switches or handles. So if you're touching those things, you want to make sure that you don't touch your face, because that's a portal of entry. So you don't want to touch your face until you've washed your hands again. So those are very important things, and that's not just during coronavirus. That's all the time.
Yes, I love how you mentioned that, because any of these tips that you're sharing with us should be in place long after the
Yes.
virus has left,
Yes,
right?
and that's going to help with flu season, or just infection control in general.
Yes. Yeah, infection control is huge.
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
Because as we age, our immune system is not as strong as it used to be. And so that's one reason why it's so important to adhere to some of the restrictions that we've put into place at the communities right now.
Yes. And it seems to me, because I didn't realize this until recently, how absorbent of germs the skin anywhere on your body is, right?
It is.
And so that's probably one of the many reasons why you should not touch your face, because you do, and all of that gets absorbed into your
Right.
skin and then your system, right?
Exactly, especially your mucous membranes, your mouth, your nose, your eyes, because it doesn't have that great skin barrier.
Yes.
And that's where it's considered a portal of entry.
That makes sense. How about as you go around the community? How should you open doors, press elevator buttons,
Good question.
sit down at a table to eat? What would you help the residents with concerning those things?
So if you can put a tissue in your hand before you open the door, that's fantastic. Or if you can, sometimes if you have a long sleeve on, put that sleeve over. And sometimes you can't do that, so you just have to open the door. Make sure you're washing your hands once you can. Elevator, I like to hit the elevator with my elbow or my knuckle. Anything to keep my hands off of that elevator button, that's helpful.
Yes.
Also, other things that we're doing in the community is we've increased the cleaning schedule. So that's
Yes.
very important.
Very important.
And residents that are, or anybody in general that's at home, to increase the cleaning schedule at your home as well.
Yes. Yes. It's a very intense time.
It is.
But these very simple measures, because really no one at an RCM community or in the greater community at large is being asked to do something which is impossible to adhere to.
Right.
These are all very, very sensible things that we really need to be aware of.
Correct.
In terms of general health, would you say, for example, is it better to get more sleep now so the body can be stronger? I mean, in other words, what can you recommend to residents in terms of helping them get through this, in terms of fortification and such?
As we age, we don't need as much sleep as the younger generation do. So just your normal amount of sleep, 6 to 8 hours is fine. So mostly what I'm hearing from the residents of the community right now, we've limited visitors, and that's tough. I understand that we're social people, we like to socialize, but the limitation on the visitors is so important because that's what's bringing in, or potentially could be bringing in, harmful viruses, So that's hard on everyone. But we have to get through that so we don't have any bad outcomes, or we're trying to decrease the chances of any bad outcomes. We're trying to protect the residents. If I could wrap everybody in a bubble, I would. But,
Yes.
But that's so important, is to decrease that visitors right now, and to limit, we're talking, you hear social distancing. So that's just to limit the contact. We like to hug and we like to shake hands. And those things we're encouraging people, or really telling them, don't do that right now, because that is also another means of spreading the virus, or any virus. So that's other things that we're wanting them not to do. So ways to get through that, use the technology that's out there today. We live in a world of technology. So utilize what's out there to help us get through that, to stay in contact with people, with your family, with your loved ones. So those are a few things that we're utilizing right now is our technology.
So a way for a resident to stay in touch with their loved ones who can't really visit communities, at least at this time, would be a cell phone.
Cell phone, a computer, they can
Yes,
Skype,
computer.
they can email, they can so many different ways.
Yes.
Zoom meetings, or I mean, there's just
Video
so many.
conferencing.
Yes, absolutely.
But with the cell phone, they need to be careful. I can see a situation where they're sitting with a friend of theirs, just the two of them, right? And the one resident gets a call from her daughter, so she's talking on her cell phone with her daughter, and then the call finishes, and then the other resident next to her says, "Hey, can I use your phone?
Gotta be clean.
Yeah.
Gotta be clean. Yes.
So be careful about cell
Yes.
phone stuff too,
Yes.
right?
If you're not using your same one, if it's just yours and yours only, if you're going to be sharing anything, absolutely needs to be cleaned.
Yeah.
It's a very good point. I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah, yeah, because that's such a vital part of our existence now.
It is.
I mean, I remember life without cell phones.
I do too.
You know,
I do
probably
too.
during Thomas Jefferson's time, it seems, but I remember it.
I do too.
But yeah, we've become so sophisticated now, and along with sophistication comes these tools like cell phones, like tablets, like computers. So yeah, same thing, I guess, with the computer keyboard. It's like you gotta keep it clean if you're not. All right, if you're the only one using your computer and you've gone down to lunch and now you're coming back to your apartment to use your computer again, would it be advisable to just wipe down the keyboard before you use it, even though you used it just 2 hours ago?
I think so. In fact, whenever I got here this morning, I wiped down my chairs, my doorknob, my mouse, my keyboard. I wiped all that down because we're out and about a little bit, not so much as we used to be, but it's still so important to keep the germs away. So yes.
The staff that you oversee at each RCM community, really in the name of health and wellness, which is what this particular series is all about, how are you counseling them to get through this period of time?
So we want to make sure that we get the information out there, but not scare everybody too, because it's a tough time right now. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of misinformation that's out there. So we do group calls. We do individual calls. We do
Between you and your staff, is it per community or all the staff at RCM communities on a conference
We
video?
do both. So we do one large call every day to make sure that everybody gets the information out there. We also have a policy system where all of our policies are held, so they have that. We also have smaller calls where we hold those calls. So there's a lot of different ways of communicating, and we're doing a lot of that right now just to make sure that they're feeling heard, making sure that they feel like we hear their concerns and that we're getting the word out there, basically, the appropriate teaching, the appropriate communication out there that they need to hear, so that they feel like they have someone to go to, that they can call. I have communities call all the time. You know, I'm in a panic. Hear what I have to say. So they always know that they have the freedom to call me anytime, and we have those one-on-one conversations. So there's multiple conversations going on. They can call us individually, but we also have group conversations. And each community also, they communicate with their staff individually. So there's definitely a lot of communication going on.
That's great.
Which
That's
is key.
huge. That is key. That is key. So just a couple more questions before we close. Where are you getting, and maybe RCM as a company, where do these guidelines to prevent infections and to manage the virus come from?
So we follow CDC guidelines. We follow those closely. We also look at NCAL, so National Coalition for Assisted Living.
Oh, great.
There's also Argentum. So a lot of our large associations that put out the guidelines, but mostly for the infection control, we are looking at the CDC.
Very good. Good entity to continue to stay in
sure,
touch with.
sure.
Yes. Final question. If you could give a message to the residents of RCM communities based on who you are and what you do and how you serve, what would you tell them during this specific point in time?
I'd like for all residents to know that I know this is a very difficult time, very trying time, but that we will get through this. and we're putting in, the reason we're putting in so many stringent guidelines is because we care so deeply about the residents, about you. We're all pulling together. We're going to make it through.
Very important words for everybody to hear. If you believe it, you will achieve it, and I love that. That's a wonderful motto, affirmation to have as you go through every moment of every day during this period of time. And I want to thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Because I know that what you do, particularly during this period of time, is not easy. And I want to give kudos to you and your staff for just going in there and caring as you do for the residents to help them get through this too. Without a team, it ain't gonna work, and you guys are a wonderful and very tight team.
We have a great team.
Yes, you do have a great team. So I would like to thank you, Gwen Wilburn, who happens to be the Senior Vice President of Clinical Operations for Retirement Center Management, for being here today, and I look forward to future episodes with you. Thank you, Gwen.
Thank you.